to Damsels in Dialogue, a podcast dedicated to female protagonists in fiction, film, and the stage, co-hosted by Katie Zutter
and India Marie Paul. For our fourth season, we take a deep dive into the leading ladies of the Golden Age musicals and discuss just how well these Hollywood and Broadway characters have aged.
This episode, we see how much trouble 7.5 cents and a little love can bring to the factory floor in the musical comedy, The Pajama Game. Welcome back, my fair friends and gentlemen and he's and these and theys. We are here with The Pajama Game.
Woo!
Pajamas are for everyone.
They are.
This musical. I know we've been kind of mentioning where our history with these musicals that we've been covering this season are. And for this one, I was in this one when I was young, which was a wild time. Let me tell you. Before I dive into the backstory a little bit of this musical and everything, just to flavor this a little, I really, really like that there are so many women in this show. This show can be done realistically, with maybe 6 men total.
Oh.
And even then you could probably some could probably double.
Yeah.
When you think about it, because all of the workers can be women.
Yeah.
And and I think that's really interesting because this one, I didn't look into it and I should have before doing this episode, but this episode this show rather that we're covering this season might include the most women of any show that we've covered.
Probably even the Von Trapp kids would be the closest thing we have to multiple.
Right.
Women to talk about that are named and have,
right.
Some kind of use.
Yeah. There's, a lot of them had 2, which is phenomenal. But how many can you say the entire chorus could be women and no one would bat an eye?
Oh, love that.
I love that. Not many. And that's interesting to me. And I do appreciate that. So for its time, that I thought was kind of cool. But just a little backstory of this. So this is based on the novel 7.5 Cents by Richard Bissell. The novel is very similar. It was wildly successful.
Okay.
As many of the things are that we've been talking about. The novel also was in so we're just gonna just think about the timeline here of this. Okay. This blew up so fast. Okay. So the novel came out in 1953.
Oh, okay.
So we are already in the golden age.
We're already there. Okay.
We're already there. The novel comes out. It's wildly successful. Everyone loves it. It's a hoot. There's, sassy women, quick-witted women. It's not quite the women of later years where they're significantly more independent. It's still the golden age. There's still a lot of sugar, but that was one of the things that they really liked is especially this babe character and things like that were more outgoing, and then labor troubles and stuff. And it was just very comedic. It's a little bit different than some of the things we talked about. There's still a lot of romance in it, but it's a comedy. First and foremost is how it's designed to be.
It's called The Pajama Game. We're not doing, No,
this is a joke. This is
Layer.
This is funny. So, and actually the book, when they did that was, Richard Bissell did the book as well with
cool.
George Abbott.
Nice.
And then musical lyrics by Richard Adler and Jerry Ross. And also the dances, which I can't wait to get more into in the after hours. This was Bob Fosse's Broadway debut. And there are phenomenal dance numbers. That is one of the biggest, and this is all I'll say about it because it's not about the ladies. But listen for after hours to hear more. But I will say my favorite parts that they changed from the original novel to the musical on the stage was the dance numbers they added. The whole picnic scene chaos is a riot. Hernando's Hideaway is an iconic number that brings fire on stage. It's just it's great. That was one of the biggest bonuses to this going to this stage, which is very the showiness of it all is very golden age.
Yeah.
We love that. Okay. So remember when that novel came out in 1953?
Yeah.
So the original Broadway production opened 1954 at the St. James Theater.
Okay.
You know, we're like doing great. We're doing great. We're doing great. Yeah. But don't worry. Don't you worry, because the movie then came out in 1957.
Wow. So from book to Broadway to movie was like 4 years.
Yes. Yes.
I was thinking through like Gentlemen for Blondes being a novel in like 27 and then having like a couple decades and
No. Cool. And it was on Broadway for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Like had well over 1,000 performances.
Yeah.
It then, it opened in 54 on Broadway, and then 55, it opened in London. It ran for almost 600 performances.
Wow.
So like this was popular. I mean, this one won.
Successful, yeah.
This won the Tony for the musical.
Oh, cool.
Like it won this choreography. And I believe supporting actress.
For Carol?
Yes, Bob Fosse. Yes, Carol.
Yeah.
Featured actress.
She's great.
So, yeah. It was like, it also won the Tony when it's one of its 2 revivals. It's been revived twice on Broadway. It's been revived once on the West End. Like, this is a very well-loved musical, and we'll chat a little bit about it today. So now that you know how quick this timeline was, wild. In the original, which I do like the musical better than the original novel. So original, at one point, the Babe character, Catherine Williams, she like ducks out for like half of it. She like goes to an uncle's funeral and like ditches, leaving the Sid character, who I think has a different name in that, who is like very torn as to what to do. Yeah. Like, you can't fire her because, you know, like I'm in love with her. Blah, blah, blah. So there's all of that. And then she like pops up at the end after the raise is given. The factory the workers have won. And she's like there. Yeah, at his flat, being like, right, ready to plan the honeymoon. And he's like, oh, all right. So, which I'm sure in like novel form, fun, silly, great. It's a little more about the men in the novel. Yeah. Whereas the musical, it definitely bumps up the women a little more.
Interesting.
Which I do like. I like that a lot, because there's still like the 2 main ladies we'll be talking about today is Babe and Gladys. But and we'll mention some others later. But we'll kind of go, I guess, in order from biggest to lowest. We'll start with Babe.
She didn't have any other name, right? Just Babe.
Catherine Babe Williams.
Okay, that's right.
Babe is her name.
Got it.
She is, I think, kind of a mix of like, they're making her funny, but in a way where she's like this like the head of this grievance committee and is given this sassy, like, I'm not going to let anything get in my way. And we are going to get this raise and stuff. Has like a little bit of the hints of what women are going to be portrayed as later. Yeah. But it's still like pulled back by like the cushiness and the sugariness of the golden age. So there's 2 big focuses that she has in the story. In the beginning, which I do really enjoy, there is very much an instant Babe and Sid. Now Sid comes in to help. He's a superintendent and is brought in, and they like both have like googly eyes over each other like immediately. He is a little less quiet about it than she is, which is kind of fun, especially when you're thinking of this time period. Yeah. And she is like, she literally sings a whole, like the women of the, I keep saying the women, I mean, when I did it all, the factory ladies were women, but they could be anybody. But the factory workers are like, and she sings a whole song. I'm not at all in love. Yeah. And to me, it's similar. This song reminded me a little bit, and I don't know how, if you felt the same, or if now that I say this, you'll feel the same. It felt a little bit like the Sister's Lament from Cinderella to me. of here are all the reasons that I'm for sure not in love because of all these perfect things about him. Kind of like the Stepsisters Lament. Like, why would they like her? She's only absolutely perfect.
She's only great.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was, I can't remember when Cinderella came out. I don't know if that was like the intention or if that was just like a shtick that was popular in that time period.
What's the juxtaposition of what you're saying versus what you mean? Like, that's pretty classic. Yeah.
So that's, it's a pretty very comedic for a show where she falls in love. It's definitely comedic foot forward. She does constantly reject his advances for the majority of Act 1.
Yes.
Because she truly wants her focus to be the leader of she's trying to make this 7.5 cents happen, like this raise, which is super important. And they're causing chaos throughout this entire musical where they are slowing down the line and like messing up the pants like of the pajamas on purpose so that like the clothing falls off. Like she is one of like the instrumental person to kind of get the ball rolling on all this stuff, while also you're watching her fight this romance. That we all know is going to happen because it's a Golden Age musical. But and then by Act 2, eventually, yes, she does commit. They do get together. And what's interesting is you have a teeny bit of Romeo and Juliet. And I say teeny in the smallest bit because Sid is stuck with, he's like, you can't fire her. She does get fired, but like, he's like, you can't fire her, but also like, this is my job, but also I really love her. And then she's on the other side of like, you have to give us a raise because this is the living conditions.
The right thing to do.
You have to do this. But also she's like, but I'm in love with you. And I think because and now this is me just thinking about it. This is not like what is written. But I'd like to think that she is better at staying away from him for longer, even though you can see the sparks, you see the moments, you see them. She's holding off better because what she's fighting for, she feels more strongly about than what he is fighting for. Because he is very half-assing this like superintendent position.
Well, and that's like in the musical, because I'm not as familiar with the script. I'm more familiar with the Doris Day movie,
which is one thing fun.
Which still fun. But what I struggled with was the Sid constantly abusing his power as the superintendent to pursue Babe.
Yes, and I think in different settings. So in a movie, it is easier to make it very like. There's quite a few things that didn't age well in this musical, right? So like, okay, I had to look back at his name. Prez. Yes, Prez. I keep calling him something different. Prez does not age it well at all. If he is played the wrong way, like there's only really one way to play him if you make him just as silly as possible, I think you can get away with him. Yeah. But like, if you try to play him realistic at all, that is so uncomfortable. To watch a married man chase the skirts of like everyone he sees. Like that's just uncomfortable. And same with, I think, how they do Sid as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Because and I'm not as familiar with the movie, but in like musical settings, at least from what I've seen, and granted, this could be just the direction that from what I've personally seen, I'm sure people could take it other ways, is their interactions. She's always in charge. So he tries. He tries to be like, well, let me see if I can get you alone in this room so I can, because I know there's sparks flying. And she's like, you thought that. Absolutely not. Goodbye. So I think I agree with you, depending on what the director does with it.
Well, and that's what I was feeling.
Easy. It's very easy to make it like exactly like you said, like abusing power, as opposed to what I would argue most people would do if you were now within reason people. If you were interested in a coworker, of course you're going to try to take your lunch with them.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to try to like catch them on the way to the bathroom. You're going to try to do those kind of little things. But there's a difference. There's a difference between, I'm going to call you, into my office. What did you want? Actually, I just wanted to talk to you.
I wanted to talk to you, like ask you out.
There's a difference between that and like you walked in the room and I shut the door and I'm standing there and I'm like, hey, I don't care how attractive you are. That doesn't read like you think it reads.
Yeah. Like I felt there was this sense with Babe of the cat and mouse game of pursuing that feels really icky to me in this time period, but I think was romanticized in that idea. Like it fed into this like leave her alone. She has to be left alone.
Yeah.
But you're supposed to in the musical know that she wants it, but it just felt really gross in the movie.
Right. That's really weird. I'm so sorry. Because like literally the fourth number is her describing how much she loves him, but she doesn't love him.
Yeah.
Like
and I got the sense she was like actually not really feeling it. Like it was just a weird.
That's uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. Yeah. It's definitely okay. So that's why you looked at me funny when I made the comment about Cinderella. That's supposed to be at least all the ways that I've seen it on stage. Because once again, every director and iterations can be different. Like that juxtaposition of it,
like
because the women have
each other. Okay.
Yeah, they have like that's why all the girls say that. All the girls. I'm not familiar with the movie again.
Yeah.
As familiar, but like the girls all after like he leaves, after he introduces himself and does the whole thing, walks away. They're all like, oh, he's so pretty, right, babe? We saw that, babe. What did you think? And they like all, as you do as a bunch of girls at a bar when you see your friend see a hot guy is like essentially what the workers do. And that's what causes Babe to sing this song. So, oh no.
Yeah, I don't think that like it was in the same place, but I just felt like Doris Day played her so straight that it felt like she was very much more on the plane of
I truly
focusing.
Don't
like even if she like was I just don't have time for that. Like very much like not goo-gooing and resisting. Like there wasn't a whole bunch of turmoil. So
that's so interesting because even if you read the lyrics, it literally goes back and forth like that, where it's like, I'm not at all in love, not a pinch, not a mite.
Yeah.
Although I admit he's quite a hunk of guy, but like, I sing it like
I think she played. I think she
so weird.
I think she played it more like realistic rather than like. I think this musical probably, and I haven't seen it like as a stage play, but probably thrives off of the over dramatization of the romance. So
the over dramatization of everything. A guy throws knives at a picnic.
Oh, we'll talk about him and Gladys in a second.
Oh yes, but my gosh, it's supposed to be. It's a comedy, not a romance.
Yeah,
there's romance in it, but
it just felt very like he was constantly pursuing her, and like there's a lot of physical aspect. Like she got like pushed against the wall, like when he was trying to talk to her a couple of times. It's like I don't like
which
this,
once
like,
again you can get away with. Not get away with, but you would want to do in a movie because you have that reads better in a made than it does on stage. But that doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah. It felt very like it felt very like it almost felt Gastonish, like she's trying to like not have a conversation in her house. Like I was just like, I don't like Sid. I think I'm supposed to like him, but I really don't like him. And now babe, what are you doing? So like that's like I was not a fan of that relationship in the movie.
That's so wild.
So I would like to see it more like I think it happened with the first meeting. The first meeting was so not like instant like look at you. Yeah. Oh, I gotta cover it up. It was very much like I'm doing my job. You're being a jerk and shoving someone. And then that was it. So like I feel like that first meeting has to be so over.
It's
like
gotta be. The whole thing has got to be like, I mean, so much of it is so. Even the way they said 7.5 cents.
Yeah, like what we gonna do for half a penny? Like
they sing a whole song about it. Don't let me do it. I know. They got all the math laid out. But you know what I mean? Like I think you're absolutely right. It should be there is no straight person in the show.
Yeah.
Like I don't think really you can take yourself super seriously in this in a great way. In like, it's not quite like Urinetown level of don't take yourself seriously, but like in that genre, I would argue. Yeah. And something else that might, I don't know how this affects anything at all, but I did notice as I was looking back into this, because once again, I did it, when I've been alive, not then. Yeah. And now it's very common for the production art and stuff to be Sid and Babe sharing a pair of pajamas. So he wears the pajama bottoms and she wears like the top fully covered.
And they did that in the musical,
as
in the movie,
the musical, and many others. They did it's in many iterations. It's just Babe. It's Babe in a men's pajama shirt with the shirt wrapped down around her. Oh, don't it's wrapped down around her shoulders and it, like with like push-up boobs with a bunch, with 6 men looking at her with all different reactions. And that's a bunch of what was happening. So that's like not my face.
No. Yeah. Doris Day had the top and then he had the bottoms in the movie.
Yes. And so that was the fun.
Class. Yeah.
Like, what they do more now.
Do you like that she's like working girl in a factory? Like, hard work. Like, this is not like,
she's in a factory and she's,
but
no. But she's still, she's doing hard work. And also there are, which is so funny because we've been talking about how over the top you need to be. How many women that we've talked about this are trying to fix a social injustice that affects not only them?
Well, yeah, that's what My Fair Lady's just trying to get herself into a flower shop.
Like the closest is maybe, and this is a stretch, Maria's trying to flee with everybody, this incoming
she doesn't talk
thing,
about the Nazis,
but she's not
like
fighting.
At all.
Right. They're not fighting against it.
Yeah.
They're just fleeing it. Whereas she, and granted, that's obviously bigger than just I need a raise. But
I mean,
Babe is like actively going against things that we still have issues with today.
Oh, yeah. I will say very relevant. Like when they started talking about like, how can I afford this? And how can I afford this? Not, what a concept of like raises to pay for stuff that's more expensive.
So that's that's what makes this so interesting to me is that she is, so she does fall in love, right? Yes. They do. There's tons of reprises in this. This is very big on the reprise in this, which, in a way that it's very storytelling. It is not just here's another 45 verses just so you can hear how good my music is. Like it's very much like they use it for reasons, but it is a lot of reprises compared to other shows that we've talked about or seen. So what I think is interesting about her in this time period is like we're getting at, she's a working lady. Okay. She's a working lady. She is a union worker or trying to be a union worker. She is actively, they picket and they riot against their employers while also at the same, like being this like feisty, angsty person that we've liked in other characters that we've seen, while also still appealing the golden age stuff by making her a beautiful, like she falls in love with somebody kind of woman. Also, she is a mezzo soprano.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna quick double check. But I don't think there are any sopranos.
Oh, because you probably would be the part. There might be like one chorus member.
There are no sopranos in this show. They are only, she is a mezzo. Yeah. And every other female is an alto.
That's exciting.
Which is
that's
also
a little bit of like
incredibly different. Yeah, that is very different than the typical ingenue, which we've talked about. Even when you have the juxtaposition, like in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and also
Guy Dolls has
guys. It's you have the two women where one is the more ingenue soprano, and then you have the more feisty. It's as if they've made this more feisty mezzo character is now the main character, and there is no soft,
Yeah.
soprano-y blonde.
Yeah.
Blonde. Why did I say blonde? You know what I meant.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah. It's so she is very different than what we've talked about. We picked some good ladies to talk about.
And like
about that.
I think what I would love to see, like, I don't know how much you can manipulate the show at this point, or I'd like to see what the revivals did to change it. Because I think the storyline itself and the character has such a good base. And I think the only things that we in the development of her character are what almost like the fan service to the standards of the golden age.
Yes.
So like that.
Yes.
It feels like she gets diminished in her development purely to like make sure that people still like her in that time period, and that she's not too progressive in what she's saying, that she's still falling in love. She's still like entranced by this man, it was like a little too close, being a little too in charge, that they put that as a focal point. Like it wasn't a side plot, like that was a focal point of they both had weight in this, but
yes.
I'd be interested to see how someone could potentially update it to give it a little bit more oomph in the way that I think she has the potential to be, I guess.
Right. Because quite honestly, a lot of it is not even necessarily her. I think a lot of the worst stuff is with Gladys.
Okay.
Because she is so flat.
Yeah.
She's very similar to, I would argue, the secondary character. Well, actually, we've talked about these a lot. There's a lot of these in Kiss Me Kate.
Oh, and, Bianca, and
she's.
Bianca.
It's like they could. That's the same. That type.
That comedic relief. That secondary plot. That secondary. We'll talk about her.
Yeah, we're getting her next. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But like a lot of it happens to her. Luckily, I think with a little bit of tweaking, but mainly different directing choices, I think she can be modernized much easier than others, because I agree. It is definitely, it's a really, really good show. If it, for that time period, it's very modern. For that time period, wildly modern. But when you take it here, it's like some things need to be updated. And there definitely were some updates. Okay. So we had the first Broadway revival, which I don't know as much about revivals. Maybe you know more. Is this quick to have one in 73?
Only like 20 years later?
Yeah.
That's a pretty decently quick revival for something. Like Broadway, I have to look at like the statistics, but that feels very quick for a revival, unless there's something drastically changed. Like I know Guys and Dolls had a revival in the 70s that went all black cast, and it was kind of a couple decades apart too. So unless there's like something super different about it, I think usually there's a couple, like at least another decade in between.
Yeah, that revival was the same, and then in between they did the West End in 1999. Broadway had it again, because it had two. It was in 2006, and that one I know they swapped some songs with characters we'll talk about next. And this one was I thought so. There was more revisions. This one was revised by Peter Ackerman, and it included 3 added songs. But Kelly O'Hara was Babe.
Okay, I know. I've seen that poster. I've seen that poster. But so that was like a 30-year break. Usually it's like at least 30.
And that one also, with revisions, did well over twice as good as the first revival did.
Oh,
interesting. That with some updates to bring it to the era that you are putting it in, it is more successful. That is so interesting to me. Anyway, so back to Babe.
Yes.
While she is, at least in her original iteration, is still not as around as I'd like her to be.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the things that we have talked about of her being like she's a mezzo. Well, you know, she does prioritize her work over her love life.
Yes.
Like even in the end, when she has admitted to falling in love with him, and they're like kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
She's still one of the final songs is her on the picket line singing 7.5 cents where she doesn't know they've won yet.
Yeah.
You know, so I do really appreciate whoever made this decision to make her significantly more strong-willed than she was in her original concept. Obviously, like you said, it's that kind of like forced, like, let's make this romance in there. And I don't mind having a romance.
No.
Because I think it done originally, it's like not as great. But it's kind of fun to see that I think it could be done really, really well in a way that it shows how strong the character could be. Yeah. And this man causing more growth in him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't feel like she changes as much as she affects him.
Yeah. And I think she could affect him more. And I know that sounds dumb, but
I understand.
Doesn't change as much as I would like him to. He's just kind of like still just in love with her, as opposed to it's, you know, he's like, you shouldn't fire her, not, hey, maybe we should consider this race.
Well, it feels like he doesn't quite fully believe in her cause, or like there's no, if you really wanted to dive into like what a raise means to factory workers, and you're getting a little outside of the realm of comedy.
Yes.
So like there's also the kind of the grazing over of the realities of what these people are fighting for. So I think that is also like you can't fully affect him to feel unless you show him the effects of that.
Right. It's tough, but I like I like things that we've talked about other strong women who don't change over the course of a story. I like that they are so strong and confident in themselves that the world comes up to meet them because they have no choice. Because this woman is so polarizing in the best way they intend to be. Yeah. And I think it would be nice for him not just to be like, I love you because you're beautiful.
Well, yeah, I feel like if they had connected.
There's so many more things about her because they give her all these little bits that are kind of like brushed over with, like you said, the time period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's there. It's just kind of like, we won't talk about it.
Yeah. I wanted them to connect on just like one more thing that wasn't you're pretty. You know, like I wanted like one
because both of them were like, you're
both
pretty.
As shallow about it. Like you're both like it's just like you look pretty, done, in love. Like I wanted something else to connect them a little bit.
Yes.
And I would love to see an actual I Want song from her.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't really have one. You know that she wants the raise, but you get no kind of like true internal like desire for something from her.
No, because it's now I'm going through the songs to see exactly where her things are. Yeah, you have her. I mean, you know what she wants. Like, you know from witnessing it what she does. Yeah. But she sings the I'm Not at All in Love with, which is like definitely not an I Want song.
No, it's like
it's a silly
We're gonna fall in love song.
Right. We're like foreshadowing song. You know, great, cool. And then I mean, she sings Small Talk and There Once Was a Man.
I love There Once Was a Man.
So funny to me.
It's
like,
hilarious.
It cracks me up. There Once Was a Man. Like, why? Why is this suddenly funny. Western? It cracks me up.
Yeah. That's one that feel like when I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh, well, this song is fantastic. Like, this is just like this. You can't screw this song up. It's just pure joy. Like, there's some problematic lyrics in it that I'm sure need to be updated.
I'm sure in the 2006 version
would have had to
was revised, you know? Yeah. So, but she sings a lot of things with him. Yeah. And you're right. Like she does not have. Yeah. Like she says, hey there. And that's another reprise.
That reprise is beautiful.
And that is, I do like that the reprise is sung by both, or not the reprise, but they each get a chance to sing that song. I think that's great.
I like the complicated nature of what can I do? Like I do like the emotional turmoil she has with that reprise. Like I think that's a really beautiful emotional character moment to herself. but she does like that's one of the few times she gets to like sing by herself.
That is one of the two times times she gets to sing by herself. So yeah, that is so interesting.
Yes.
I love one more song, a little bit more about her, other than I just want a raise for the workers.
Yep. Even if it was like, I hope I find some, like, even if it was about romance, like it just,
it could be
not
that.
like
That's
a,
fine. But there's
a desire.
No.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't do that on purpose because they gave him an I Want song.
They did. And
her.
like,
like the Hey There and the stuff like that. He sings.
Yeah.
Very much about her.
Yeah.
Very much wanting her, but doesn't know what to do about it because she won't listen to him when he tries to tell her.
Oh, poor boy.
Right.
Woe is you.
Yes. Hey, at least I don't know if they laughed at him in the 50s, but us now can watch that and have a giggle and be like, this is still comedy.
Yeah.
And I feel like he'd be more endearing.
Well, that's
that way.
I think if he's played very endearing and very sick puppy in love, I think that's great. I think where they missed the mark in the movie is they made him a little too like masculine forward, if that makes sense. Like, and that's where I went, I don't like you. There's nothing about you that I enjoy.
No, that's not fun.
Which is harder to watch then. So I think, I think there's a very balance. There's a balance you have to hit at the very beginning of this, or no one will care.
Yeah. And so then they'll just giggle up and have a good time, but not care about the plot. They'll just like laugh at all the dance numbers. So I think done right, she could age very well. Done wrong, she can age very poorly.
Yeah, which is fascinating because it means like that the script itself is vague.
Has potential. vague with potential if done right.
Yeah, that's a lot of breathing room to put, which is not a bad thing. It's just like she's written enough to give her a chance to be whoever the actress comes up with. It almost feels very like we talked about in the first episode this year that like Betty and Judy could have been just flat.
Yes.
Awful things to watch, but because you fit them with like performers that made them into the characters they were, that it was such like they're classics. So it's a very like big enough to have a plot, but not specific enough to have a fully blown like this is the path of the character.
Right.
So fascinating. Okay, I'd like to see the stage version of this. I'd like to see the ridiculous fools in love.
Yeah.
You know?
It's especially more act 2. Act 1, she just turns him down constantly. Yep. Oh gosh. Anything else about Babe before we move to Gladys?
I don't think so. I think that was my big, like, just figuring out how much was part of that.
No, that's valid.
And no means no. Like, that's a thing, you know? But I do think that if you get a sense that she truly is just like trying to resist being with, like, I think that turmoil can be overdone enough to like make you want him to keep asking her out. But like you know, in today's world, there's also the like, wait for her to come be ready. Like, you just leave her alone, please.
And on the flip side, in today's world, there's also a large group of women and people who like, now I'm going to say this, it is not the, I am going to get her even if she's saying no. It's the chase of the coy, I want you to run after me if I run out the door.
Yeah, that's a very delicate.
There's that kind of chase of like, I want you to want me. If that makes sense. And I think it could be done like that too. It's just got to be very understood that they both are interested. Because if it doesn't look like Babe is interested at all, and it's more of a, you see like that turmoil, how fun of a song would that be of her turmoil of like, okay, maybe I like him, but like also I have a job to do. Yeah. That would have been a great song. That would have been a great
like, seesaw of
maybe not an I want, but maybe would be an I want song of I'm trying to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
If that is not directed and not acted appropriately.
Yeah. It can get real creepy real fast. Yep. And like, that's a delicate balance. That's a delicate balance. And like in that time, you couldn't be a woman who's openly pursuing as much. Like, so like, I think there's something that feels very of the time of like that cat and mouse-ish game because of decorum that translates just in a very weird way. So like, I'd be interested to see it live with some more modern lenses put on it to see what they did with it. I would have liked to see O'Hara.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I've heard her. I think that was with Harry Connick.
Yeah. Harry Connick. Harry Connick Jr., excuse me.
Yes. Harry Connick Jr.
And that was his acting debut. His Broadway debut.
Good for him. I could see him being very charming in that part. Okay. Well, yeah, I would love to see that, to see what they did with it. But I think she's a character with a lot of potential. And I do like that she's a working woman. And this is one of the few people with a job that is not being an actress. Because we've had a lot of working women.
Yeah, we did.
But they almost all of them have been actresses other than Eliza, who is a flower seller. And
Maria,
who's a nanny. Yeah.
Because but those are all very typically female roles. Whereas this is like right around World War II.
It's right after the like everyone had to fill up the factories and like women had to start working in factories. So like I think it's really cool to show that side of history.
And that's to see when this takes place, not just when it was written. Like it's so
they wrote it about their own time period.
Yep. Which is also unique to this season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
A lot of things were in the 20s or in more idyllic time periods.
Or fantasy, like we were in, Once Upon a Timeland.
Oh. Can't get over that show. We'll never get over that show. Love it so much. But yeah, okay. So yeah, it sounds like the biggest. She has a unique case of if done right, she ages well. If done wrong, she ages incredibly poorly. Yep. Amazing.
What a weird continuum to be on.
Yep. What do you think? Let us know after you hear this podcast. Yeah. I think of all of the characters we've talked about, this one might be the most like, I truly want to know what everyone's opinion is.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
It would truly go either way.
Yep.
Just based on what you see first. Like what iteration of this.
Yeah.
Because clearly it's a well-loved show. They wouldn't have done it so many times. Like some of the shows we've talked about didn't even get revivals. And this one got 2 and 1 on the West End.
We're about due for another one now.
Got two on the West End. Another one happened 2013, 2014.
Okay. I feel like we're due for something somewhere of the Pajama Game.
Yeah. 2014, it moved to the West End.
Okay, cool.
So it's like, this is
still here.
One of the more popular ones. So that's interesting. Well, cool. Yeah. So now that we have chatted about Ms. Babe, let's move on to the next character. So full disclosure, Babe is the only rounded character in this show as far as females. Now, I will argue that there are not many rounded men in the show, if
true,
potentially any. So in their defense, it's even, which this is designed to be a comedy. So I can see it being, we're just making caricatures of people.
Of a boss who's just yelling all the time.
Right. A boss who's yelling and is jealous of his wife, who's so pretty. Not of his wife, but for his wife.
Yep.
That's the biggest. Wow, it's late. We're recording this on a Monday. If that explains anything,
it's fine.
But we are going to move on to Gladys. Now, Gladys is a secretary.
Yes,
but a different secretary than one we'll be talking about later.
Yes,
there's 2 secretaries.
Yep,
because of course there are.
Totally makes sense.
Because each man needs their own secretary. Correct. Because obviously they would get nothing done.
Useless.
Without these women. Gladys is the secretary of the head of the factory. Okay. So she is head secretary. I don't know. She for sure is okay. with the timekeeper of the factory, Vernon. Like they're together. So she works with, and like I said, not many of these people are well-rounded. There are a lot of flat characters, which is designed to make them silly caricatures. So her boss is like screaming mad, angry all the time. Because he's a big man. And then his
truth.
Her boyfriend is a different big man in that he is jealous because she's very pretty. And she is in the one, it is not a defense. It is just an explanation for his actions. She is beautiful and is very like, I wouldn't say flirtatious in a I want anyone, but she is like the cutesy, pretty, hey doll kind of woman of the time period. You know, if that makes sense. Like she does. It's, I don't know how, because it's not like she's openly flirting with anybody because you don't really see her interested in anybody.
She's not Bianca.
No. But she's definitely, you understand why men go for her. And she's not like Babe when Babe's like, nah, I'm like physically gonna leave the room. Like, can't stand this.
Yep. I
have bigger fish to fry. See you later. She's like, actually, let me sing an entire song for you. Like, so in one explanation of him, we can get more into him in the after hours. Cause like, he, I would say as the one teaser, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning too, is there is only one way that you could do him and have him age well.
Yeah. No, I hate him as a character.
Because he is like, if you make him just a joke, like just the butt of a joke, funny, great. If you make him real in any way, shape, or form, you'd be like, why is she with him?
So creepy.
Yeah, she could be with anybody.
Yeah. Well, that's so funny that you say that, like, she's portrayed typically as like the very cute, like lovable.
Yeah, she is a quick-witted, like beautiful secretary who dates Hines. Oh, sorry. I'm getting them all confused. Vernon is not creepy. He's just really overprotective in like an uncomfortable manner. Well, sorry. I got switched up with the characters.
Yeah, no, he's not creepy. I just hate like his like possessiveness.
He's very possessive. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of characters in this show.
There's a lot of characters and it relates to Gladys. Okay. So Gladys is pretty like quick-witted, but pretty, takes the attention from men, doesn't necessarily give it back. Whereas Vernon is like, you're flirting with everybody. No, she's just very pretty and everyone finds her very pretty. So uncomfortable that he is so upset and jealous about her. And then Perez, who's constantly going after her. That's the one. That's the one that he really, really, really can only be done one way. And it has to be a joke. He has to be the butt of a joke. But it's tough that a lot of these men display very toxic.
They do. And
typical toxic masculinity traits, which this is a comedy. So they're trying to make fun of it. But once again, if it's taken seriously, that's tough because Gladys because we're talking about all these stupid men in the after hours. But we're going to move to Gladys. You were saying, portrayal of her.
Yeah, it's funny that like, because when I watched the movie and it was the original Gladys in the movie, which was cool that she transferred. She gave me she was brilliant as a physical comedic actress. Like she was fantastic, but she gave me such Carol Burnett vibes.
Because she's a dancer.
Yeah.
She's like, she is a dancer first. She did not speak in movies. Until that movie. That was the first movie she was ever given lines because she was a dancer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
she
and you can tell
comedically on point, and her physical comedy was so good. But like I saw her as like a Carol Burnett style of a comedic role rather than like the pursued secretary. At least it was played up more in the movie.
Yeah.
So like
it can go so many ways. I think
that's why even like Heinz's jealousy made less sense.
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
Because she was like, but she was fantastic. Like I thought
Oh, for sure.
So well.
No, that's awesome. I like comparing the two, Babe, it's that fine line of, like we mentioned, trying to make her modern while also making like not taking some of that bad ideology from the original. Yeah. Gladys, I think it can be played tons of ways.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like she's a plot point. Like she has a key that he ends up needing.
Yes.
Like that's a whole role, and to randomly put in the jealousy side plot that was unnecessary.
Yeah, this random side plot with Prez that's really about him, but like so you can have a lot of fun with her in that way. Something that I did want to mention about her is actually in the it wasn't the first, it was the only film she spoke in.
Really?
Yes.
She was great in it. She's hilarious.
She was strictly a dancer and everything else. I believe that one of the songs, I think it's Steam Heat, but I could be wrong. It's either Steam Heat or her. It might be Hernandez Hideaway. It's one of the like bigger numbers. They actually gave to May. They took from Gladys.
Interesting.
And gave to May in the revival. Yep. Okay. So it was Steam Heat. And Steam Heat, it was originally done by Gladys, who, as we've aforementioned, she's a dancer. Obviously.
Fantastic.
Obviously, you're going to give her that role. You're going to give her that moment. But they gave it to May instead in the 2006 revival. Because Hines accuses Gladys of being a flirt and she's not. So she does it to make sense. So it does make sense that she'd go and start her stuff.
So it doesn't.
So it doesn't make sense. Sorry, there's a typo in my poorly coded thing. But Kathleen Marshall, the
did she do that
choreographer
for Marshall? Great.
For the 2006, she's like, it doesn't make sense. So that's why, she's like not a flirt, but she's still like puts herself very much out there all the time.
Yeah.
Which then gives him reason. Doesn't excuse the behavior.
No.
Gives him reason.
Yeah. Did they do all that? Do you know if the original Steam Heat was still in bowlers and pants? Because I loved the fact.
I think it is.
That feels like it probably was transferred.
I think it is.
It was something that I think Jerome Robbins.
That's how we did it.
Tried to keep it. Well, yeah, it's Steam Heat is one of the most well-known Fosse numbers. Yeah. As it was so iconic, and it was so it was such a good introduction to his style, because you can tell this is his first. There's a lot of things that we'll talk like you can tell.
Yeah.
That's his first big one.
And he's trying not to be like too wild, he's trying not to like fully commit, he wants to be asked back again before he can do the wild stuff.
But I know that Jerome Robbins was a big advocate for him and his work being transferred to the movie, because he helped direct it. But I love that it's in pants and a bowl. Like you have a woman with two other men dancing in Steam Heat in pants, in a bowler hat, in men's clothing, dancing this number. And it's never addressed. It's never like anything other than just like what exists. And
it's just, and that's like a lot of the dance numbers in this, or like we're putting a dance number because this is the golden age. And why not? We're going to have fun.
Yeah.
We're going to have a blast. And that was a big part. Dance really was altered forever in the golden age with Oklahoma is what altered dance with musical theater, like for the foreseeable future. And you can definitely see that, I don't know, dance was so important during this time period. And I love that. But thanks, Gladys, for being such a dancer for us. She still did Hernandez Hideaway, which is another big dance number. She was also given a song in the 2006 version, The Three of Us, Me, Myself, and I, between Hines and Gladys.
Oh, so good.
They got a duet.
And
which I think is better. I think that's good that the couple should get a duet.
I like that a lot.
So that was something that was added to help.
Awesome. I love that. And I think it's important to note that that revival was directed and choreographed Kathleen Marshall, which is a female director and choreographer. So a lot of these changes have come about when you have a female leading this revival. So I think that's something to note. We've seen her work in the 2005 Once Upon a Mattress.
Oh my God.
Choreography and direction. So she's an icon. Age revival icon.
Yes.
But I love that. I love that because we haven't had many women involved in this creative process for the show. It's been a lot of men.
Yeah.
So I love.
Yeah, because we've had other shows where women have, I mean, a woman helped write the original shows of other ones we talked about this season. But
Singing in the Rain, Kiss Me Kate. Like we've had a couple different Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Like we've had a couple examples of it. So I love that.
Yeah. Funny how when you bring women into a show that has more women in it. Like, yes,
changes happen.
Right. There are many named characters that are men as well, but when they're that flat. But Gladys overall is, I think she's still a really fun role to play. I think both Gladys and Babe would be fun to play for very different reasons. Gladys kind of gives that opportunity to the strong dancer who can also sing, which I don't think many roles offer. It's like usually if you're the main character, you're just kind of like the mover. And so being a supporting character that has like multiple dance solos is really fun and interesting to do. Still, I think she's pretty flat. I think adding the song in 2006 probably makes her a little more. Unfortunately, we are today talking about the
Golden Age.
So she is very flat, but it's comedy. She's supposed to.
She doesn't want to act drunk in, after tangoing and like.
Yes.
That scene is so good in the movie. Highly recommend watching her be drunk because it was great.
Hernandez Hideaway is probably one of my favorite dance number concepts that we will talk about later. In the after hours, not here. But so to bust through the rest of the ladies, because like I said, there are a lot. I mean, there are a lot of women in this show. Looking at and from what I remember of having the script in hand, there were quite a few names that they just throw in that they give lines to. And other
that's
almost
nice.
It's kind of like a Urinetown situation where like not every character is like listed. Yeah. But almost every line is named. It's not just like a worker. I think that's great. This is very similar. In that, but of the men, there are like 8 named men.
Okay.
Which some of those are easily doubleable. Salesman, handyman, like things like that can be doubled. And then 7 or 8, I can't tell, the last one could be either. Also like named women.
That's great.
So it's like 50-50 for the most part, which is nice. So obviously there's plenty more women that we could talk about, but as we mentioned, a lot of them are very flat unless they are Babe. So both women we semi-mentioned earlier. We have May. So they're both kind of connected to Gladys in one way or another. So May in the original rendition of it is another sassy, snappy woman. Yes. They all are sassy, snappy women. Yeah. But she actually accepts the advances of this gross guy who's been following Gladys around this entire time, that she's been like uncomfortably like, no. Like her, I would argue, is worse than like Babe. At least they kind of set it up where she thinks he's attractive and she could be interested. Whereas like Gladys is like not ever interested. Yeah.
Which they cut a lot of that Prez Gladys stuff in the movie. Okay. So that wasn't
there's a lot. Like he comes back, prevalent. They sing a whole darn song. He comes out a bunch and he gets frustrated. So then when he gets frustrated, gives up on her, I believe at the picnic, he, takes out his rage on throwing the knives, excuse me. He then in a rage flirts with May instead. And she's like, yeah, game on. Which I don't know what that says about her, knowing he's married. And she's like, yeah, game on. Yeah. I don't super love that.
Not a big fan.
Because especially now, I think that's one of those things that just doesn't age well. Because like now there is that like, you don't do that to another woman, kind of thing. Like that's just kind of like an unsaid rule.
Yeah.
Like you don't intentionally become a homewrecker.
Yeah.
You know, so like I don't love that for her. It does make sense that in the later revivals, they gave her that dance solo instead because she is much more accepting and much more flirtatious than the others. So I do appreciate that. And then another featured lady is the oldest woman in the show. I mean, I guess you could guess it any way you want, but is Mabel, and she is the other secretary. She is Sid's secretary, and she's the one who has to kind of like be like, yeah, you love her, and he's like, what? And she's like, I'm not blind. So, she's a little bit of that caricature of the old woman who kind of knows everything. You know, she brings up to Hines, like they sing a whole duet of like, could you like get it together, not be jealous? So she's kind of like the mother of, I mean, arguably more so the men than she does anything with the other women in the factory, which is kind of funny. That's kind of a fun role.
There's usually like kind of a sage woman in any kind of like, her. I mean, has Succeed, has one too. Like, you know, like there's that like upper secretary who has a lot more wisdom.
And that's her. That's her.
Yeah.
So she actually, like I said, she gets a full duet. That's not just a reprise. Yeah. Because May also gets a duet, but it's a reprise of, you know, the song that he tried to get with Gladys with. It's fine. I'm not uncomfortable by it at all.
It's so interesting because I didn't see that version of Prez because it wasn't in the movie. Yeah, no, the Prez subplot like wasn't.
Oh yeah, big. No, he hits on her multiple times throughout the beginning of the show before May's like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, because that's not great.
Yeah, no, that's not great. May, I really liked. She wasn't very like as flirty, like, but I also think Prez didn't have a wife. Like, I think they cut out some of that.
They cut out his stuff.
Yeah. But I love that she had a bit. One, the actual factory workers in the movie were very body diverse, which I appreciated.
Yeah,
it was really great because you know, like usually you just cast like a whole bunch of like ingenues,
chorus girls,
for the back.
But you can't do it for this one because it's a big old comedy. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And May's bit was that she was always drinking beer whenever she had the chance. And so I was like, well, this is like, what a weird token thing to give her, but like that's great. Like I love that you get to see a woman drinking beer. Like
right. Great. Oh my gosh, how fun!
Yeah, that was one of the good things I liked about it. So, but they all had personalities. They did give a lot of lines to a variety of factory workers.
There's a lot of just that's why I said it's like very similar to You're in Town in that way, where there's lots of little bit lines and everyone's kind of named.
Yeah.
And it's
to be popular.
Yeah. The chorus does a lot in this show. Yeah. The chorus does a lot. Like I was in the chorus for this. I was very young when I did this show. So, like, I was not to be a romantic interest of anybody in this show. It's like in middle school, maybe high school. It's like you're on a lot between all of the dance numbers. And then there's all this fun choreography and scene work you can do where you are like, anytime they have scenes, it's in the factory. So the chorus can be on stage actively sewing. Yeah. So it was so fun to be. And then since there is so much movement in the show, the chorus goes from, okay, you're working and you're doing your due diligence and you're getting your stuff done to the chorus is having a full scene behind whatever's happening because they've already set out that, hey, like Babe's already planted the seed of like, this is what we're going to do the pajamas. And then if you watch the chorus, you can watch them doing that while other things are happening. So it's really one of those shows that also similar to Once Upon a Mattress that I think could be really good in high school if all those things that we mentioned were fixed. Maybe do the 2006 version. Thank you, please.
Yeah, do the revival.
Yeah. But yeah, because like it has so many women and like you wouldn't, if you were in the chorus, it wouldn't be just that couple of scenes you're in. You'd be in every dance number, which there are a lot.
Yes.
Almost the entire thing takes place either in the factory where everybody is, at Hernandez Hideaway, which is a public bar that has a big dance number, or at a park during the picnic, which you need everybody. That also includes a giant dance number.
Yep.
Like it's a good show for the ladies. It's a good show in general. It's not too difficult to dig into either, because it is truly just a silly comedy. But for some fun facts, unless there were other things about just like the women in general.
I'm here for it. What's your fun facts?
All right. So first of all, in the movie, they wrote a song specifically for Doris Day, the man who invented love, that they cut.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't remember that.
They cut it in favor of the standard reprise of Hey There,
which I did like.
So I would say, I think cutting that reprise, there's lots of reprises in this one where it's like romances singing in another fashion, like Prez and Gladys, then Prez and May. And and this one, I think I like this one. I like that duet. Also, in the original musical, it actually launched the career of Shirley MacLaine.
Okay.
Shirley MacLaine was an unknown 20-year-old at the time and was selected as the understudy for Carol Haney's role.
Oh, nice.
So for Gladys, when Gladys was out for an injury, and she has won Academy Awards, Emmys, British Film Academy Awards,
I feel like I know
Golden
that
Globes,
name.
like all these things. Yeah, she's done a lot. She was in
Magnolias.
Yes. She was also in a minor role in Oklahoma, but the Pajama Game is what got her on the map. Sweet Charity.
That's cool. Yeah, like that's like I know that name.
Around the World in 80 Days. Yeah, 6-time Academy Award nominee.
Oh, okay. Terms of Endearment. Okay.
Yes. So that's kind of fun.
That's really cool.
She started
I like seeing where they start. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
That's really cool.
I don't know why this show, I found so many more fun facts.
Oh, cool.
Than any.
I love a good fun fact.
Other thing. So Doris Day, in her autobiography, she actually something you had brought up and we had mentioned earlier about how so much of the cast came over. She said it was hard to do the show because she wasn't original. So it was really
like, I got this.
It was really difficult for her to fall into the groove of the company that had done it for over 1,000 performances. So this was, she said she described the experience as trying to find her place in a well-oiled machine.
I could see that. I don't know that she found it. I like Doris Day, but and
that would be intimidating because that's not just like a short run. This is like that's a lot. That's like a lot of performances and then so quickly. It's not like they did it and then like
they're like, oh, we did last week.
Right. It's not like Cara Burnett where like you're intimidated, but you're not like terrified that she's done Once Upon a Mattress so many times. Like there was time in between. It wasn't like she just came fresh off with like 8 of her BFFs that were just in the show at the same time.
Yeah, especially with like an ensemble heavy show. Like they probably built a lot of relationships that were like not in the script and like they probably played and worked together so much. And then the lead is like, hi,
like
I'm Doris Day.
Welcome to me. So, and here's some things that make it a little different. So the musical that we know versus the movie. So it is a pretty good crossover. In some ways, like we've talked about filming versus on stage and how things are reading were like not our faves, but they deleted 6 numbers.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of fluff.
There's a lot in this. So they have A New Town is a Blue Town. Her is which is one of the songs, the Prez, which I mentioned. You're like, oh, I'm not familiar with that one. Think of the time I save. Sleep Tight, which is the name of the company.
Oh, the company.
The Jealousy Ballet.
There's always a ballet.
To
Oklahoma.
And the although Oklahoma, that changed the plot, and that is why.
Well, that's why it was so important. And then everyone did the ballet, but they didn't do it as well.
And then The World Around Us. Oh, it got to 9th position on the Billboard's charts in 19.
Well done.
The soundtrack for the movie.
Huh.
So there's a lot of also like only roles and things too. John Wright. That was his only film role.
Interesting.
Final film of Carol Haney.
Interesting. So it was one of those like just kind of came over with the show and didn't have Hollywood.
Didn't stick. Hey There, specifically the movie version, was included among the American Film Festival Institute's list of 400 movies nominated for the top 100 greatest music for the movies. And like Hey There was in 2004.
Hey There's pretty good. That's a pretty good song.
So
There Once Was a Man is still my favorite of the show.
Yeah.
Because it's just so stupidly funny.
That's a good one. Here, you had stuff to say, and then I'll see if any of my more of my fun facts matter. I don't know why I have so many.
No, you might have this one somewhere because I don't remember where I found it, but it was the that at a 7.5 cent raise, they were making like $1.25 an hour at that in that 1954, or like roughly like $50 a week. So it would have added $3 to each paycheck, and it would have been around a 6% raise, which is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
I'd take it.
Yeah,
I'd take a 6% raise.
They do all the math in that.
Yep. In the last.
Yep. That one too. It was so funny when I did it. They were nervous about the enunciation because the lines are 7.5 cents doesn't mean hell of a lot. Like, and hell of a lot when a ton of people are saying it is sometimes can be difficult to understand. So our music director actually changed it to heck of a lot.
I was about to say heck has a much better.
So it was, and it wasn't, he was trying to like make it more PG. It was just like, the song is so fast.
Yes.
And is so repetitive. Like it'll be so easy to just go la, 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 like instead of actually like enunciate the words. So we said heck of a lot because it with that hard K, it made you stop. And I was like, okay,
more fun.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And it is probably better for the audience too, because they can, I don't know, understand what we're saying. Yeah. So I forgot to mention. Okay, so original Broadway opened 1954. London, 1955. Original in Australia and New Zealand, 1957.
Okay.
1957, Her Majesty's Theatre, Melbourne. Yeah, so it also went there and was still successful. Like the 50s, they did really, really good there. But okay, well, one fun fact from me is notoriously in Hernando's Hideaway. The whole song is like light a match, and then kill rats. Hernando's Hideaway. So you have to like, and originally they did that. They did in fact like light matches on the stage in theaters, and which makes it a very like nightmare. But also for the audience, this is like a massive crowd pleaser. It is also, you have to be very, especially with matches at the time period, you have to be like very, very clever with how you're doing it, how you're using it, all that kind of stuff. I did not find any like wild stories of like things burning down. So they must have done something right. When I did it, we used lighters because obviously that is safer in so many ways, and it's easier. It's just easier. My fun fact is now, and this song is done like very low in the dark. So it's like very unsafe for like so many reasons. But once again, crowd pleaser, looks really cool. Visually a brilliant number. Yeah. Right. Like you get that choreography down right with that staging. Yeah. Could be like career starting, right? Yeah. Okay. I could not light the lighter.
Oh no.
Could not. And it was like, no, dark, secluded. People listening to the podcast cannot see me doing this, but literally every beat that it made sense to light this lighter, I would attempt and would fail. And it was so funny because I was one of the strongest dancers. Like I was the featured dancer of the show.
No.
So I did all the dances for everything, and I could not get this lighter to light. So it was so funny because the cast didn't notice
Oh.
Because I was a featured dancer. I wasn't near any of them. I was doing all this stuff in front. Right. Yeah. And they're too busy focusing on their own laters because like we're rehearsing and we have like fire.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So nobody noticed until after one of the rehearsals, the director's like points at me and loudly announces to the cast, well, she's never going to smoke. What? So one of the cast members went out and bought me a push one.
Yes.
So that I was
you just push it
with a button lighter during Hernandez Hideaway.
Dude, you got to.
You know, here we are.
Yeah, that's terrifying to think about, like lighting matches on stage and just like holding it until maybe you burn your hand. Like that's just
yes, because it's pretty specific. It's you've done right. Like I said, it's a good number. Like which has Gladys singing lead on, and this is where they get the key and all this stuff. And my goodness, it's like just tango. So much chaos.
Yep.
So I'm not going to say any more effects because I've been saying so many things inconsistently wrong this entire time that I don't want to lie to you today. But you should check out our after hours. Yes, I know we segued a bit during this episode into other things, but that's just a taste. Yes. It's just a taste of what we have to come. My goodness, were there any other fun facts or interesting things that you were like about any of these ladies that we've talked about today?
I don't have I think we covered a lot of really good character discussions because I did come off of watching the movie the other day going like, wow, I really just don't like the romance plot.
And I get it.
Yeah. Like it was like I really want to like this in it because there's so much potential. And from a modern lens, I would love to see them dig more into like the union part, like that kind of shenanigans of trying to get that
right.
As the comedy
that could have been stuff too that was cut from the movie.
Yeah, for sure. So like I would like to give it a shot on stage before I fully make my decisions about it. But I think I really like that it's a show that is a classic, but it has so many roles for women. It has so many roles where like also students or community members or college students can not just be a prop in it, like just dance, like that there are personalities to be had, that there are like, that it is so flexible in how you use it, that you can create an entire story and bits in the background, you know, of being in the workshop.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really exciting piece that I think we'll probably see. Like, it doesn't surprise me that there was a revival last decade somewhere, because I feel like it's one that probably will keep coming up because we are dealing with a lot of minimum wage issues and inflation issues. So like some things hit a little too close to home. When I was watching it, I went, oh, this isn't changed at all. Like,
that's sad.
Yep. So I thought that was really interesting that they put such a hot button issue at the time, I'm sure, and currently in the comedy, like adjacent, which is why the romance, I think, takes a big front seat in the show. But I'd like to see kind of like the version where like some more of that activism stuff like comes up and the romance is like a side plot.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much about this show, so I was really happy that you picked it and that we were able to like talk about it. So it'll be my radar now.
Brilliant. I can't wait to talk about it more in after hours, and we will see you all there. That's
bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Damsels in Dialogue. Tune in next week as we snap into the streets of Manhattan and see Somewhere There's a Place for Maria and Anita and Bernstein and Sondheim's West Side Story.
If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can help us reach even more listeners by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a rating or comment on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you're listening.
If you want to join us for even more discussions and opinions about the Pajama Game or any of our episodes, head over to our Patreon. There you can support the podcast and unlock an entire library of exclusive after-hour video podcasts with a new one arriving each month. You can also unlock research notes, bloopers, and more.
Follow us on social media and at our website on damselindialogue.podbean.com. Till next time, this has been Damsels in Dialogue.
Have a nice day.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Royal Princess Parties LLC and is produced by Hello Out There Audio, part of Hello Out There Productions.